The concept of multi-channel evolving is that increasingly campaigns are going to be using multimedia more frequently. So essentially doing more with campaigns is going to become the norm. I think though this is not a one-size-fits-all. I think it depends on the industry sector, and I think it depends on the level to which brands lend themselves to be engaged by customers and audiences. I've seen a lot of interest and hunger for short-form content, so that's something that's going to be continuing to rise as an important factor in campaigns. But I think also the increased usage of cross-media presents other types of challenges, and I think the considered use of media in a campaign is going to be increasingly important. So really understanding what role the different media plays for each campaign. I think also timing is going to be a key challenge as well as this evolved, in that previously campaigns had a very clear beginning, middle and end, and I think increasingly as you have a digital campaign, what do you do with your engaged customer or audience base at the end of the campaign? So I think the traditional view of a campaign end is going to blur as digital media becomes much more prevalent and common for different campaigns. I think also for measurement as a result, that's going to be increasingly difficult, and I think more complex solutions are going to be found. Being able to understand what audience are watching in a time-shifted way, or to be able to understand what audiences are talking about for products when they're using different types of devices is going to be increasingly difficult to understand. So I think more sophisticated measurement techniques are going to be used. Well, I think the first thing brands can do to plan for spontaneity is understand the context and objectives around using social media. Social media can often be much harder to achieve the type of reach that other medias can achieve, such as TV. I think also you need to be very clear around what the objective is of using social media before you start to plan to be able to carry out your campaign, and I think that can sometimes be lost. So for example, are you using your social media to promote, or are you using it as a customer services channel? And I think you have to be very clear about what the objectives are before you can set up operationally to best support that. But interestingly, a 70-20-10 rule is often used, where 70% of content is created up front, 20% nearer the time, and 10% actually created almost at the spur of the moment in real time. But to do that, you actually have quite a few operational challenges you need to overcome. So from a process perspective, your decision making needs to be much faster than normal, which for a global company, you might have, say, 25 people globally signing something off. You need to be able to change that model to be able to turn around things far rapidly than before. Similarly, you also have to have resource allocated to be able to reply to unplanned moments. And I think that as well needs to be factored in. The other aspect which is important as well is sourcing. Where essentially will you locate the capability to carry out social media? And I think that with social media, often the previous silos that existed between PR, marketing and comms are actually a bit irrelevant, and you need to essentially understand where social media fits across the organization. Similarly, using a third party such as a social media agency is a very important part to the puzzle, but you also need to be able to understand the level of risk that that organization is able to take on. So you need to ensure controls are in place to make sure the consistency and the tone and the messaging are all at the right standard for your brand.